He's just as well-rounded a coach as I've been around, from the recruiting aspect to the X and O's, game preps, practice and individual skill development, and someone that has NBA experience as well, having worked for the Houston Rockets.
Welcome back into the Morning Rush, going straight to the phone lines, welcoming in Coach David Patrick here on the Morning Rush, new associate head coach of the Arkansas men's basketball program. Coach Patrick, thanks for making some time for us this morning.
Hey, guys, thanks so much for having me on your show. Couldn't be happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, Coach, we were talking with Rivals basketball analyst Corey Evans earlier this week, and he gave us an interesting piece of information that neither Tommy or I had heard at this point. You helped Eric Musselman get hired at LSU. Can you take us back through the process of how that went down?
Yeah, definitely. You know, Coach Musselman has been a great friend. He worked for a friend of ours, Hank Egan, at San Diego, and my former boss, Randy Bennett, worked for him when I was at St. Mary's. So our relationship probably started when he was back, the head coach of the Golden State Warriors and Sacramento Kings. And so our relationship probably dated back 20 or so years. When we had a spot open at LSU, I knew the talent that we had coming in there with Blakeney and Simmons and prospective NBA guys. I had asked Coach Johnny Jones. I think Muss would be a great hire for us because of his NBA pedigree and also his ability to relate to players. And so that's kind of how we got over to LSU. We flew over, and obviously he liked it. Didn't love it as much as Arkansas, but liked it, and the kind of the rest is history.
Coach, you got a chance to come up and visit Coach Musselman, Mrs. Danielle, and the Musselman family last year in 2019. I guess you came in as an assistant, but you probably got to see a little more of Fayetteville. Just kind of your early impressions of Northwest Arkansas and campus and everything that goes up there.
I'm literally walking the campus now. So I got in actually the day before yesterday, and I just got off the phone with a former colleague of mine and said I'm blown away by the campus, the facilities, the all the stuff in the city. I've been kind of just driving around because I'm staying in a hotel here, just trying to figure out, where my wife and I will end up staying with our kids. But I'm actually blown away, to be honest, by everything they have here. You don't know when you fly in and you charter in and you go to a hotel and go to a game what each city has. But this place is special. Now I know why they've had so much success here.
Coach, you're a Australian native from Melbourne. What's basketball like there? How does it compare to what we see here in the United States?
Look, I think the game has evolved. It's back in the 90s and where I kind of fell in love with Arkansas, they started throwing college games on about twice a week. And so they threw on like the old Lee Mayberry and Todd Day games back then. And so there's been a love for basketball since the Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson days. And so the game is the second highest played sport in the country behind their football over there. And so it's played by a lot, men and women. And to see the growth of the game, I think we have the most number one picks in the world, the city of Melbourne, that are currently playing in the NBA.
Wow.
Tells you how big basketball is over there.
You're coming to Arkansas after 2 seasons as the head coach at UC Riverside. What is it about this job? What is it about this opportunity that led you to leave a head coaching position? You don't see that often, to be a top assistant.
Look, I've been blessed to have opportunities to leave before, even after my first year as a head coach. I didn't want to. It would have to be the right job and the right person. But I went to high school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and played my AAU ball down there as well. And so I've known how good Arkansas is. I know the history, the tradition, and in my mind, it's one of the top jobs in the country, not only from a basketball perspective, but from an athletic department perspective. And when they call, anytime you have to listen. And then it was a lot easier, to have a friend in Muss and a coach I respect, to come here. If it was some other SEC job, maybe not so. But when Arkansas comes calling, you have to listen. And they sold me, and I knew how you can win a national championship here if you put the right pieces in place.
New Arkansas Associate Head Basketball Coach David Patrick here with us on the Morning Rush. Coach, you got a chance to play under Jim Boeheim, one of the legendary college basketball coaches in the history of the game. What are one of the biggest takeaways that you take away from Coach Boeheim?
Look, I just think his abilities make us compete every night, and also to make team. You know, and our team, we went to the national championship in 1996 and lost to Kentucky, but he made us compete every single day in practice and every night, and he formed teams. You know, the bond that he made us have within our team, was huge, and so the reason he's had so much success. You know, we only had one NBA player in John Wallace back then, but the competitive nature of our team was something that I'll never forget, and he's still doing it to this day. Which is hats off to him. You know, when I was 18 years old, I didn't get all the yelling and all the pushing through drills that he put us through. You know, you don't get it at that age. Mm-hmm. But now, at 40 plus years old, I see how it's helped, and it's the same stuff I do now as a coach, the stuff that I probably hated as a player.
Coach, people forget in 95, if not for a timeout technical foul call, Syracuse probably beats Arkansas and wins that game. And you weren't on that team the previous year, correct?
No, sir. I wasn't on that team, but it's probably the reason I ended up at Syracuse, believe it or not.
Wow.
So, I had a high school workout that day, and the day after you guys beat Syracuse, and Coach Boeheim flew literally from after the game. Him and his assistant coach Bernie Fine flew to Baton Rouge on the charter to come see me work out. And at that point, I was leaning towards that purple and gold school down the street, and I ended up. They talked me into coming up there on a visit. About 2 weeks later, they had lost this real good player named Stephon Marbury and Wayne Turner. So, they needed a point guard. I went up there, and the rest is history. But, if Arkansas loses to Syracuse back then, they don't come to Baton Rouge, and I probably don't end up in Syracuse. So it kind of put two worlds together for me.
Yeah, small world. Hey, give our audience an idea of what the day is like in the life of an assistant coach. I don't think we always have an idea or a perspective on the demands on the time and what the smartphone has done to really make the job more 24/7.
God, I started 16 years ago. You couldn't even text back then. I think you could call once a week, and so it made life a little easier in that respect. Now your day starts up with, you say hi to your wife, and then you're checking your text messages and making sure either which prospects have texted you or which coaches may have texted you, and then you got to start figuring out. I usually go on my morning walks and start texting or calling prospects. And this game's become so global. It's not only the kids in Arkansas or Texas, Louisiana. You got to get on now. You've got to touch some of those kids around the world. And so it's a 24-hour deal when it comes to recruiting, which was not the same probably 10 years ago because of the limitations that were in place back then. And then you're in the office now, and I've only been here. My first day was yesterday in the office, but you're hopefully you're gaining knowledge in terms of how your team's going to play and just trying to figure that part out. So it's a 24-hour job, but something that you love, and if you don't love it, it's going to be hard to succeed at this level.
How has the transfer portal changed the way you go about the way of constructing a roster? We obviously know that Eric Musselman's a fan of using the transfer portal. What's your take on that? And how involved have you been in that up until this point?
Look, I think it's a big component of college basketball, and I can only see it getting bigger. Obviously, Musselman is a pro at it, but it reminds me of my days in the NBA. It's kind of like checking the free agent tracker, and you've got to, it helps if you have spots available to be able to insert an older player with more experience, even though it may be from a lower level. Sometimes that maturity and can help you, can upgrade a program quicker. And so you got to be on it. You have to be on it, and you have to know, leagues around the country and figure out what leagues can play in the SEC. I don't know how many transfers you can take at this level, but I know there will be a sprinkle of them within our program for sure.
Arkansas basketball coach Patrick with us here on the Morning Rush. Coach, when you're talking to recruits, what do you tell them about your relationship with Ben Simmons?
Look, I think the main thing is I was everyone says they're a player's coach, but I think I truly am. I just finished playing the game, 10 to 15 years ago, but I still get out there on the floor with them, and I'm going to be the one helping them develop. I'm not going to throw them with no knock on managers and GAs, but I'm going to spend time with them on the floor, which some coaches don't. I even did that as a head coach, so my hope is to continue to do that as an assistant coach. And then I think when you're talking about Arkansas, your ability to be on the floor with a Corey Williams, Eric Musselman, and I'm the last man on the totem pole in terms of experience on the floor. I think I don't know what other staff in the country has that kind of experience for those that are trying to get to the next level.
And Coach, for those who don't know, you're his godfather. So just kind of the relationship. I know being over in Australia and stuff. Like, how did that form back in the day?
Look, so Ben Simmons is my godson, and the reality is I played on this same club team as his dad, David, and Ben wasn't even thought of when I met David in 1989, and so David kind of brought me up as Ben's dad as I was, raised by a single mother over in Australia when we moved there, and when Ben was born, David asked me to be his godfather and kind of look after him the same way he looked after me. And who would know when he gets about the age of 15 that he'd be a pretty good player. I wanted to play football. That's how crazy I am. I didn't think he'd be good at basketball. So what do I know?
Don't tell Muss that. He'll be wondering about your evaluation skills.
I know, man. I know. He was like 6'7". I'm like, you know what? He hadn't grown into his body yet, but he's killing it at football. Why don't we just let him play AFL football, which is just train football? But he wanted to come over here and play, and I guess the rest is history from there. Yeah.
How is it? None of us are moving our families around in the midst of coronavirus and moving from halfway, the West Coast to here. How does that work for you and your family? Because I know that can't be. It's never stress-free moving, but in the midst of all of this, that's got to add a burden of stress to you and your wife and your kids.
Gosh, it's not easy. But I will say this, and this is the truth. I've never seen my family more excited to move, and we've moved a lot. I think this COVID that's placed upon us has given us a lot of family time. Probably too much for them, for their liking, for me to be at home. But the chance to move back closer to home. My wife's from North Louisiana. It helps, but it's stressful in terms of trying to sell a house, buy a house. At least in California, the market's pretty good, so hopefully we can get off that house here in the next couple of weeks. But then coming here and trying to find the best place to live will be challenging. I think it helps us that Danielle Musselman's here, and she's kind of his head coach. She's really his boss, and she'll be telling my boss Cassie where we need to live and what schools we need to go to.
Yeah. So how's your social media game? Because you got to have a pretty good one to hang in there with Muss.
I know one thing. When I came to Arkansas, I had about 100 followers before I came here. I had about 5,000 in the course of a week. So I'm trying to pick it up. It's good. I cannot keep up with Muss, but it's solid. It's solid. I need to get it. It's probably a C. I got to get it to a B or an A in this next few months.
Coach Patrick with us here on the Morning Rush. Coach, I know a couple of the GAs, a couple of student managers there on campus, and one of the things they told me when Muss initially got to campus is he never leaves the building. Like, they feel bad when they go home from the Eddie Sutton practice facility because he's still there. And so just like getting to that mindset, looking ahead to this season, just being around Coach over the years and stuff, the work ethic that you're going to be expected to have this upcoming year.
Look, I think that's one of the reasons I came is not to be in the office all day, but I think it's more for the competitive edge and that he has. And he's won everywhere he's been. And, a lot of it's because he works harder than most, I pride myself in trying to be that way. I try to be that way as a head coach, a player, and an assistant. And so it's probably natural to me, and I think that's the only way you win. I think you got to work smart, but you got to work hard, and I know Muss does that. Because even when I was in California, it texts me at all hours in the morning and all hours of the night asking stuff. And so you know how dialed in he wants this place to be and how dialed in he is to win.
And, Coach, with the incoming freshmen we've seen, whether it's Devontae, whether it's KK, whether it's Moses, whether Jalen, they've been putting in the work this offseason. You often see it on social media and stuff. And then just the other guys on campus already, it seems like they've been putting in a ton of offseason work and effort. Do you think some of what Muss is doing, they see what he's doing, when they see what you're doing, do you think that translates and is kind of pushed on to the players in a sense?
I think it is. I think the bar is raised high here, and it's your responsibility to get to it, and I know Muss and the staff won't lower it, and I think these freshmen, as talented as they are, are trying to get to it, doing everything they can to get to it, whether it's physically. A lot of it's mentally. When you come in as a freshman, as good as you are, you still have to get caught up with the college game. And I know, even yesterday we spent some time with them, over Zoom. So they're continuing to learn, and it's because of the demands put in front of them, but the demands to help us win. And I think most people that come here are coming here to win an SEC championship and try to play at the next level, or be the best player they can, the best student athlete they can. So. It'll be a fun time, and I've seen this group of freshmen from afar, but now to have the ability to coach them and the returners will be a special experience.
Coach, what are the challenges with the extended dead period, no summer basketball to speak of, no EYBL, no summer circuits, the limited evaluations? What challenges does that present, not just Arkansas staff, but just college basketball as a whole, moving forward when looking at 21s and 22s? What extra work do you got to go do now to have a better evaluation when you can't see them in the summer?
What I think the hardest thing is typically this time of year you can get kids to come up on campus and unofficial. You have your camps coming on where you can get some young underclassmen or women on campus to really just see what your campus has to offer. And that's harder in this temperature. It's good to show Zooms and all that kind of stuff, but it's not that personal touch that you typically have. So that's become more challenging. I think over this period, and I've even found that here, as good as the facilities and everything else is, it's different when you're not being able to walk on campus. And then I think just face-to-face contact with prospects. I think if you can sit down and look a prospect in the eye, and they can look you in the eye, or their parents or coaches, that helps. When you're trying to hand your child over to a group of coaches to look after for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And so I think there are a lot of the challenges that are in place. And some people aren't skilled on Zoom, and so that sometimes becomes trickier. I'm a pro now. I wasn't back in March. So those are all the kind of the challenges that come in, during this COVID, because where you could probably get a leg up, especially in this state with all the fine players they have in 21 and especially 22, to not be able to get them on campus during this period becomes a little bit challenging.
Yeah, I think we've all learned some new computer skills the last few months, haven't we?
No doubt about
it. You're 44, right?
Yes, sir.
Wife, two.
I feel like I'm 24 though.
Yeah. What do you like to do when you're not doing basketball?
I read a lot of leadership books, or I'm listening to podcasts. I hate to say this, but my Xbox 2K game's not bad, so I can.
Let's go! Yes, sir.
with my daughters, so that's probably it. Believe it or not, I like to travel. If you look at my passport when we can in the summer, but yeah, just kind of try to shut down, but it's all related to basketball. If leadership, it comes back to this, but it's what I love.
Where's the best place you've been before all this chaos? What's the coolest trip you've been on?
Well, I'm born in Bermuda, so it's hard to say. Bermuda's not a great place, but
you've been to Australia's in your background.
Yeah, Australia's in my background, so that's not bad either. But I think Aruba, which sounds like down in the Caribbean, we love that place as a family. So it's not as expensive as Bermuda, and so you can tell it goes a long way. Yeah. So we love it down there.
Coach, before we let you go, I don't know all the NCAA rules and regulations, but are you like hopping on with recruits on Xbox Live playing 2K? Like, is that one of the ways you're recruiting them, is showing your 2K game?
Not yet. No, we're not allowed to do that. Not yet. But you know what? That's a good idea. I can post my game on Instagram or Twitter now and have Must retweet it, and they'll be able to see it.
Let's go. Yeah, just give credit to the Morning Rush for that idea. So, new associate Arkansas basketball coach David Patrick, kind enough to make some time for us here on the Morning Rush. Coach, we really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, and I can't be more excited to be a Hog.
Absolutely. Coach,
glad you're here.
Yeah, good to have you. So, good stuff from Coach David Patrick.